What up, world? Welcome to the Goalink Show. My name is Ben. I am the founder of Goalink, a goal-setting community providing growth junkies, aka you, with weekly challenges to avoid complacency. These challenges are inspired by brands to bring you new ways to develop and improve yourself on a consistent basis. You can kick back and watch me take on these exciting and uncomfortable challenges, or you can join me. I challenge every listener out there to complete these weekly goals. Catch the content on Instagram or Facebook at Goalink Group. The Goalink Show, this podcast recounts experiences from the achievers of the world, but not just the success. We delve into the challenges and the struggle that we all face. How do we find the will to push through? What role do motivation, discipline, and even failure play in our lives? Let's talk about the process and not just the result. We discuss this and much more in the show. Thanks for tuning in. This week we have a very special guest. It is Michael Marciel, founder and owner of the 5-Figure Workweek, a mastermind group and online course arsenal to help you personally and in your business. He's been featured in Forbes and The Today Show. He's been in the online content world for over 14 years now, which is wild to think 14 years ago and online content still feels so new to us. Let's learn how he battles with loneliness and has become self-aware of his own weaknesses, how to stop consuming and why we should start creating, how he went from jobless, broke, not seeing his daughter, divorced, depressed, and living in his car, yes, all of those things, and how he made it out by hiring himself as his own mentor. But really, this is real life. He was all these things. He bought a meal at McDonald's by finding change under his car seat while living in his car. I know nothing about this, but admire that he's made it out through this. Learn how he lives his life by design and not by default. The importance of gratitude in his life. And he drops some real knowledge of how to get out of depression and take action to change. So without further ado, let's get into it. Alrighty, everyone, welcome to the Goalink Show. My name is Ben. We got my man Michael here. What's up, my dude?
What's up? What's up, listeners?
Yo. So, Michael, let's get a quick rundown from you of how you've been in the content business for 14 years, online content business, which is longer than some people have maybe been alive or most of their life, listening out there. And just really go into you're the creator of the 5-Figure Workweek. And I love how you say you're a regular dude with irregular attitude and results. I really resonate with that. And I think everyone's technically a regular person. It's just the choices they make. So give us a lowdown of who you are.
Boom. Regular dude, first and foremost, for sure. And yeah, 14 years. And I think we'll talk a little bit more about that later. But oh man, crazy stuff is because, 14 years of doing anything, that's a long time.
That is a long time.
That makes me feel old. I just turned 34. So, yeah. So for me, with content, being online, doing that thing, it really all started because, and something I resonated with just your show and what you're all about is, I had a goal of doing something bigger and better than the people that I've seen around me. And I just always had that kind of fiery call or that thing in the pit
just
of my
always.
Stomach. Yeah, it's
always
been there.
Had it, okay.
Like I knew I was going to do something different or bigger. And so, yeah, I just, every opportunity I see to kind of step outside of the comfort zone, I take it on. And
I love it.
That's where you learn. And I think we all get that, but it's not until you do it in real life that you understand what that really looks like. Because, man, you start battling some demons, you start seeing really cool stuff, but you get to go through that stuff. And so, yeah, 14 years ago, I was a 19-year-old kid just minding my own business, dropping out of college, and I started working with a really small company to produce content for them that would be seen and bring in more customers for them. So,
but like, what did that look like 14 years ago?
Yeah, 14 years ago. Okay, so this is what it felt like and looked like. I was a 19-year-old kid who loved playing drums. I'm a drummer by nature. And I was just jamming in a music shop, and this dude comes up to me, and he's like, hey, you're really good. And like this guy looks like ZZ Top, like the big beard, long hair. So he's got to be good.
Yeah.
Okay. And so when he says you're good, like we started talking, and he actually developed an electronic drum set that was all custom, hand built, and this beautiful, gorgeous custom piece of electronic equipment. So he's like, I just need somebody to help me get this out there because I don't know how to do that.
Wait, he just came to you randomly?
Totally random. Like
You're
we
playing
connected
the
on drums. Yeah, we connected over drums. One thing led to another.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And no, he, just our personalities clicked, and that's when he started opening up about his business, what he needed, right? And that, I think, there's a lesson just in that. Like, when you connect with somebody for real, then business things can happen. Other collabs, JVs, whatever you want to do is on the other side of just connecting with someone.
Mm-hmm.
We did that first. And then he's like, you know what? You've got to share my product. Like, I've got the video equipment. Just do something with this. And so I just set out to ask good questions of the people that needed to know more about his product. I asked thousands of people, thousands of questions, and then we started creating content that answered their question.
That's dope. Do you still have any of that content?
Don't you dare. Don't. Oh, it's brutal to watch now, but
it's
still
on YouTube.
It's on YouTube. Yeah, YouTube was
Okay.
brand new. And see, that's the craziest thing is that nobody else was really using YouTube for marketing purposes at that point. It was like, your home videos and funny things and like just random. And so I started using YouTube that way. Like it's so crazy. Like if you put out content that people they need anyway, they start watching it. And so like we started seeing a couple hundred views. I got better at asking questions, producing content, and then it was like a couple thousand views, then 10,000, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of views later. That all translated into sales for this company.
And how long did that process take from hundreds to millions of views?
About 18 months.
Which is quick.
It's relatively quick, yeah.
Well, I guess if you're looking at a gradual upswing.
Well, like 14 years ago, that was quick.
Yeah, that was quick. Right now, I mean, you put out one video.
It could be 30 million views overnight. Yeah. It's crazy.
Okay, dope. So you recently got a notification on LinkedIn that it's been 14 years, and someone messaged you on LinkedIn. Who is this person?
Yeah, so, gosh, man, this hit me in the feels hard.
Yeah.
So, and it was just a day that, like, all these cool things were happening, and it put things in perspective, like how grateful I am to just live life and do things that I want to be doing. And so I get this message on LinkedIn, and it's like, hey, I don't know if you'll remember this, but I saw you speak at this marketing conference 3 years ago, and we were both in the little deli eating these really gross pastries, and we were just chatting, and afterwards you told me that I would be this amazing leader. Like you felt that in me.
Just randomly? You just met her in the pastry
Yeah, I just met her. She said, great job or whatever she said. Okay. And we were just chit-chatting. And I vaguely do remember this. I speak a lot, and I vaguely remember meeting her. And she was like, yeah, you said I would be this great leader. And then she went on to tell me that over the last 3 years, she's really stepped into that vibe and is now leading her company. Like her company is grown. Her business has grown. Her life feels different. And that one interaction has stuck with her the whole time.
That's awesome, dude.
That's what it's about. Like on the hard days when I just want to like hang up my hat, like that I can rely on those things at least.
Is when you do feel down, like do you physically go into that space to motivate yourself again?
Yeah, there's a couple things, like I think there's a physiological change that needs to happen. That means like I could just drop and do some push-ups, go to the gym, go running or walking or hiking or whatever. Sometimes it's a social thing, like I'll get out around people. I think just entrepreneurs, we tend to isolate ourselves. Like it's a one-man show, but it's really not. We're all in the same boat. We just have our VR goggles on, and we don't know that there's other people. We just get out of the matrix for a second, and then you realize there's other people. But yeah, I think you have to change something, otherwise it doesn't change. So when you start slipping down there, it's like if you keep going that direction, we already know what that looks like. It's depression, anxiety, fear, overwhelm, all of these things, and we don't need that. That's not productive. That doesn't get us to our goal.
Yeah. So I wanted to do this later, but let's just do it now because you kind of mentioned it with challenges. So you are successful as far as your business, and you've dealt with a lot that which we'll go into. But what current challenges do you face? Like, is it you're an entrepreneur at home, like you said, you have to be alone a lot. Like, do you get in your head a lot? Like, for someone who has a successful entrepreneurial business, what do you struggle with?
Dang, just getting real. Okay.
Yeah, let's get real, dude.
Cool, appreciate it.
5 minutes in.
5 minutes in. All right. Here come the tears. No, I'd say you're absolutely right. I get really heady. I stay in my head a lot because I've realized that that's one of my greater assets too. That's where my great ideas stem from. That's where like everything happens there. And so it's natural for me to stay, mostly in my head, not so much quote unquote my heart, if that makes sense. I'm like 60-40, like that's a big improvement from before. But that's one of my things. I can overthink and overanalyze. And what that leads to is paralysis by analysis.
Yeah.
I'll overthink it, and then it doesn't happen for months, right? And so I'm a big proponent of taking action. Like if I want something different, I've got to do something different, right? And so just by hearing that, like you see that there's a dichotomy. There's two sides. Like there on one shoulder, it's like, no, it's okay, Michael. You need to think about it more. Why don't you take a nap? Why don't you eat a whole chocolate cake and just watch Netflix and just think about it?
Yeah.
And then the other side's like, get your ass out of bed, go to the gym for an hour, and then come home and crush it like you normally do, right? And so here's the trick, though. If you always have this teeter-totter effect going on, you could go either way. You can condition yourself to take certain actions or hang out with certain people or do something different so that you're always tipped in one direction. And I don't know of one person on this planet that is like immune to depression or anxiety or overthinking or all of these things. I don't know of any one person. But you can train yourself to recognize those symptoms of both good and not so great and do something different.
How did you... I don't think I know there are people out there that don't recognize their weaknesses or where they are less strong, we'll say. It seems like you're self-aware. How did you figure that out, and what advice would you give to people to figure out, like, again, focus on your strengths, but at the same time, recognize the weaknesses so you don't make mistakes?
Ooh, okay. So we're not getting real at all here. All right. Cool. There's two things. One is the people you surround yourself with. And I really do believe that you have to do the thing that works best for you. So for me, it was like I would hang out with better people. Better meaning like, we all hear, you're the average of the 5 people. Yeah. But there's so many different types of 5 people. There's like in relationships, in business, in fill in the blank, anything that you can, like religion or spirituality or whatever. There's those circles of people that you can get around and level up because you can see where they're at and you know where you're at, right? Yeah. Like whether you say it out loud or not, you get it and you can compare that to other people. And so there's that, but I really do believe that for me, it was in the form of mentorship, actually investing dollars to work with people that you're paying them money so that they can tell you what's going on, right? And it's a really cool thing because if you do it the right way, in my opinion, you're working with somebody that you really respect. Okay, so imagine like your best friend, you respect them, and if they say, Michael, like, hey, I'm noticing that you're like not performing, you're like, I don't see you marketing your stuff, or I don't see you doing your business, or I don't see you like leaving your home for months, right? Like that's okay, they're your friend, whatever. But when you paid that person that you really respect and has the success that you're looking for in that area of your life, and they say, Michael, like, you need to get your ass out of bed. You need to do these things. This will help you to overcome. Then you start paying attention because you've put your dollars there.
Yeah. Do you think we've made progress in getting over the stigma of coaches and mentors?
No and yes. No, okay. Because there's like 1,000 million quadrillion coaches now.
Yeah, and you see them everywhere.
Oh my gosh, it's crazy. But here's what I love about that is I think people are aware enough to know that there are different types of people. There are people that, January 1st, 2019, they became a coach. Okay, they just started. They don't know what they're doing. They're just following suit of whomever their role model online is.
Right.
Okay, so there's that. There's also the person that has been at it for a little while, has resources, has experience, has results that they can point to, and that is really cool. I actually really love that there's a lot of coaches and mentors out there because there's none like me, and there's not a whole lot that have actual results to point to.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? So, like for example, like when I don't do this very often.
Yeah.
When I invite you to my home,
Yes, thank you, sir.
like that's a big deal to me. It means a lot to me because this space is really important to me. But not a lot of people can point to the things that they have, and it's not about materialistic stuff.
Yeah.
It's the results. It's people. It's community. All of those things. And so I kind of dig it because there's so many people like, yeah, I'm a coach. I'm going to help you get to 6 figures. And it's like, okay, how many years have you created a 6-figure income? How long have you been doing this coaching? Right? Like you get to ask those questions, and it empowers the person that needs a coach because it's instant. Like or you move on. Like either they're the right person or they're not the right person. And there's so many opportunities, but the people that are doing the best job, they're rising to the top.
Yeah, I think I haven't paid anyone to help me in any sort of way, but I think like I need to make that a goal this year just to really go into that avenue to push myself even more and take me to the next level. Real quick, can you throw out some just dope stats like to verify your like validity of like your results?
Sure.
So if anyone is inspired to like, dang, like I want, 5-figure work week or whatever have you to be inspired by you, what are some results that you've seen personally?
Yeah, great question. So most people would start stuttering right now and say, it's not about the results. I was lying. Gosh, like why can't we just be cool? No, I can point to a lot of things. I can talk about the podcast that we started in 2016. And I did it as an experiment where we went to number 23 on iTunes. I had interviews in Forbes, Inc., eventually the Today Show, just from launching something.
So you were doing interviews?
Yeah, I was. Past tense.
Yeah, for those people.
No, I did my own set of interviews, and I don't know if these names will make any sense, but Pat Flynn, who does Smart Passive Income, he was my very first guest. We had really great guests on the show, and they don't just go on anybody's show. Does that make sense? So there's got to be something there, like maybe some leveraged credibility if you don't know who I am.
Yes.
But because the show did so well, Forbes and Inc. reached out to do articles on us.
Okay.
On what was going on. So there's that. Even at 14 years of doing this, I take my clients' success really personally. We're closing in on $21 million worth of sales that my clients have done.
Whoa.
I don't work with thousands of clients. Okay. So I want that to be clear. My clients win. Mm-hmm. That's important. Not too many coaches and mentors, even if they're great at what they do, and they have all the PR and they've been as seen on whatever. Mm-hmm. They don't have the client results.
How do you track that?
They tell me. It's easy. Like we have those relationships.
Okay, cool.
It's like, dude, last year I did $1 million, and it like blows my mind to hear people that are really smart, really great at what they do, really driven, not have the success. They bring somebody on that knows what they're doing, and now they have success. At least they're hitting the goals that they want. Just last year, a lot of times people say, well, why do you talk a lot about branding and speaking and coaching? Because you're not like a speaker. And I'm like, well, yeah, but every year I spend 50 or 60 days on stage.
That's a lot, dude.
It's a lot of time, but I love to travel. I love to talk. That's not a lie.
Yeah.
And I think I have relevant content to share, but I don't even go pursuing those opportunities. Those come to me. Mm-hmm. That happens. Like the reason why we're doing this interview, somebody had me as a guest on their show. Yeah. They enjoyed that, and they made an introduction. Mm-hmm. Like that happens if you have good content, if you're able to show up, and if you have the results.
How... Like for someone who's just starting out, and it's so easy to get anxious and judge yourself if you're not seeing results, like in any type of business or any type of venture you're going off on. Like for you just mentioned that it just happens, but I know it wasn't all that way all the time. Do you remember a time of how long that took you to get to that point of stuff just kind of happening, like compounding?
Yes, absolutely. Took about, if I've been at this for 14 years, it's taken about 11 years for things to really move. And I think it's because it's the journey. It's the classic, I'm the entrepreneur. I'm going to do this whole thing. It's brand new. I'm, cutting edge, all this stuff. It's not until you realize that, like, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. You don't have to do things the hard way. That's when the aha moments start happening. So, for example, 3 years ago, the difference, and I know we're going to talk more about this, but 5 years ago, to be more specific, I went through a huge shift in my own life, both professionally and personally. And that left me really hurt and broken as a person for a good solid year of my life. And that coming out of that was when I started to understand what I wasn't doing. That led to my results. Okay, like I understood that there's a correlation between what I'm doing as an individual and the results in my life, and it's no one else's responsibility or fault or praise that happened. It comes down to me.
Yeah, and I think the message is treat it like it's gonna happen tomorrow, but have the patience that it takes years. Like, really though, people ask me like, "Yo, Ben, how's Goalink going?" Like, and I get the feeling that it's like, hey, like, is it actually successful? I'm like, dude, I just launched 2 months ago, but every single week it is progressing. And I understand that process of I'm getting clear on my mission, the content's getting better guests, better videos, more followers, whatever. Like, that's how I look at it. Like, of course, I will always have to level up, but understanding that it can take years is important.
And that's the truth. Like, it's so crazy. We have clients all the time that want to work with us. Okay, create a 5-figure work week of their own. Totally get this, but it's not just like, okay, do these steps and you will have success. Yeah. You also have to be that person first. Like, it's not just like, oh my gosh, now I'm making $10,000, $20,000 every week. This is crazy. Like, oh my gosh, like, it's not. You don't just step into doing something completely different and you're just good. Okay, like, it does take time. You get to be broken sometimes. Yeah, like, if you want me to go there, dude, I will go there.
Let's go there. So you mentioned 14 years ago you met this random dude by drumming and you start producing content for him. And then did you quit that to consult?
That kind of turned more into a consulting role by the end of the 5 years that I worked with him.
Okay, so let's start there.
Yeah, so it was a natural progression. It turned more into consulting. They sold their company, which was the plan. And then I leveraged that success because they went from like doing like $40,000 or $50,000 a year to like $500,000 a year.
Whoa.
And so I used that to start working with larger and larger companies. And so then I worked with another company that was doing about $350 million a year, which was crazy, right? Crazy. I was a young kid doing that. And, after 4 years of being with them, I realized something that, like, I had a brand new baby girl on the way. I was newly married. And I wasn't seeing my daughter. And for a kid like myself that grew up without his dad in his life, and here I was, I have the ability to be in my daughter's life, and most of the time I saw her, she was sleeping. That did not sit well with me at all.
And what were you consulting?
Sales, branding, marketing.
And you were traveling a lot, correct?
A lot of time away from home. A lot.
Like how many, like weeks, months?
No, I mean, it wasn't like extended like you would think. It was, but it was more like I was home 2 days a week.
And that wears on you, man.
It wears, yeah, especially because you want to be with your daughter, you want to be with your wife or your spouse, your whomever, and I wasn't doing that. And outwardly, I was saying, my family is my number one priority. That's why I'm working so hard. Why doesn't anybody understand me when I say this, right? Like, it was like, woe is me feeling. And then I realized, I was like, Michael, you're all about taking action. What actions are you doing? You are spending this time away from your family. That's on you. How people respond, that's on them, but you're taking this action. And it hurt. Like, it hurt when I saw that realization, but I had to take some different action. So I ended up resigning from my position. No plan B. I mean, no plan A.
You didn't? No plan A?
No.
Did
nothing.
you have... You didn't have a job lined up or anything? You
Nothing.
Just quit? Did you give 2 weeks or just said, hey, I'm done?
Yeah, it was 2 weeks.
Okay.
It ended up being more like 3 or 4 weeks, but having said that, gosh, like, I had no plan. I had some money saved up, and almost immediately, this is what I realized. is that it wasn't just the job was wearing on me. It wasn't just like I was tired of not seeing my family. It wasn't even that like quickly I realized my now ex-wife and I had grown so far apart. It it really was me. I had to look and take accountability. That like I was the center point of all of those things, not necessarily working. And so yeah, man, I didn't see it at first, mind you. Like I didn't get that at first, but I did realize that my the next step was to go through a divorce. And that hurt. I was like, oh my gosh, I gave up this career paying some, decent 6-figure income, a younger guy that hasn't had money growing up. And I gave that up to realize that I'm also now not a family guy anymore. Gosh, that hurt.
And like, tell me if you don't want to go there, but what, like, did you regret that?
No, I made a very conscious decision beforehand. I was like, okay, if I leave, and things were decent at home, but it's like we didn't have a whole lot of time together either. So, but I could feel something was going on, and I was like, I need to make this change, because if I keep doing this job, okay, if I keep doing this thing, and my home life doesn't work out, I'm going to regret that forever. Like I didn't give it everything I had, and I was like, but if I leave, I didn't graduate college. I don't have any discernible talents or documentation or certifications or any of that. Like I just have me and my personality and my skill sets. Like that's it. Yeah. My now shiny bald head. Like that's all I got. And so I still made that decision. I saw what happened, and I didn't have any real regrets. Like there's the practical side. Like okay, now what? But I didn't have any regrets. And that was that was probably the healthiest thing I could have done. Before making that decision, but this is what it led to. Like this is what all that led to, was me not living life. Like I was sliding into a depression and I did not get it. I didn't see it. And like I said, over probably the next 9 months.
So after the divorce? After
the divorce, yeah. Okay. Going through this divorce was a real eye-opener because it forced me to take a look at myself, and I realized how little I was doing for myself. I wasn't taking care of my physical self, my spiritual, religious, my relationships, financially. Like I wasn't really taking care of any of these things.
You just didn't really think about it, probably.
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, because everything's fine.
Yeah.
Right? Like you don't think about things when things are fine. Like when your car's fine, you're not thinking, oh, I should get my wheel bearings checked, like, or whatever, fill in the word. Like, can you cut in some like really like powerful, like intricate technical knowledge right there? Like your flux capacitor is fine, okay, when everything's fine. But it's not until your wheel falls off that you desperately try to figure out how to duct tape it back on. And that's where I was at. And so I realized something wasn't working, something wasn't right. And so I started to just really reflect inward, but I wasn't taking any action at the same time. Like it felt good to go to the seminars and read the books and audio books and stuff, but I wasn't taking action anyway. Like I was learning stuff.
Why weren't you like? I'm fascinated by this, and I'll be honest. People past you, like, and people like that are my pet peeve, because and it's rampant.
Oh, for sure.
Like, because we have so much information and knowledge, but no action. So like, why?
That's I think we're scared. There's a lot of times people talk about the fear of failure and the fear of success. Yeah. And it's all of those things, all the things that come with that, because you're not just a new person because you have new information. You're not taking more action because you read another book. In fact, this is my 2 cents. Okay. I get a lot of flack for this, but I ask people about their results. I'm like, I stopped reading books. I stopped consuming as much information 2-3 years ago.
Okay.
Because I saw this phenomenon. I'd go to the seminars, okay? I'd read the books. I'd go to the events. And guess what? I saw the same people doing the same things, going to the same event month after month after month. They weren't doing anything. And so I stopped consuming and I started creating, because what I saw was that these people were consuming everything that someone created, i.e. book, podcast, business, seminar, conference, all of that stuff they were consuming. And I was like, I'm not creating right now. But here's the trick. I think the trick for everyone is that once you realize that, like if you really want to start a business, you have to understand what are people doing right now? They're consuming the crap out of things, and not everybody's creating. And so I just needed to do something. And I'll frame it this way. After 9 months of not having a job, not really doing anything financially to take care of myself or my daughter for that matter, I hit the point where I couldn't afford like food, not including like rent, phone, insurance, like new shoes. I didn't know what that was. Okay. Like that was my life. And being evicted from my apartment was a game changer for me. Like I so needed that. For a lot of reasons. Like I was so used to like talking my way out of things, or like I just like that was my go-to. You know what I mean? Like that was my thing, and I couldn't out-talk or outsmart this situation anymore. And I'll tell you what, sleeping in your car and not being able to hang out with your daughter over the weekend at your apartment, that sucks. That hurts when you desperately your whole life just wanted to start a family and take care of a child like you didn't have growing up. So that was my rock bottom.
Yeah, if you don't mind, I really want not harp on this, but focus on it, because I think people breeze by these stories so often. We hear these a ton nowadays of, rags to riches, but you're divorced, depressed, broke, you're evicted, and you're living in your car. I think it was 2 months, right?
2 months, yeah.
Like
in the winter time.
Okay, let's really break this down, because I've never gotten close to any of this, which I'm extremely grateful for. But like, what do you do when you're living in your car? How do you shower?
This is good. I love this. Okay, so I was very fortunate that I had a gym membership.
Okay.
Very fortunate that I already paid for this gym membership.
Like a year in advance?
Like no, like it was like a 6 month
okay
kind of deal, and so I had access to a gym. Which I didn't care about the gym. I wasn't taking care of myself, right? I went and I lifted some weights, so I looked the part.
Yeah.
And then I would go shower. I would sit in the hot tub. I'd sit in the sauna. Like, this sounds like glamorous, right? Like, but it was torture.
You had nowhere else to be, probably.
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. And
Interesting.
You know how hard it is to chit chat with people that like are sitting there because they have the time freedom to do that. When you also have the time freedom, but in a very different way.
Interesting.
That's very crazy on the brain. And that in itself, like I could shower at least. I was clean. That was good. That was important for a lot of reasons. But here's the bottom line is like I knew I couldn't do that forever. And when my daughter, like when I tell her the first time, like I can't have you this weekend, I'm going to take you to dinner and then back to your mom. And she asks me why, and I can't lie to her. So I'm like, I am no longer living at that apartment. I don't have anywhere to take you, And she looks at me in the rearview mirror in her little booster seat and says, just make more money. Okay, that blows your mind. Because she just told me in no uncertain terms that I needed to take action. I needed to produce results, because what that meant for me is like I'm looking at my daughter, who I am here to take care of, to be an example for, and I'm not doing either of those. And she told me straight to my face. You know what I mean? Like I chuckled, like I wasn't upset, like it was mind blowing.
Even in that moment, you chuckled.
Yeah, I was like, oh my gosh,
so
you are
simple.
completely right. I've done nothing. Yeah, I've done nothing to create. So okay. You're right. And I should have hired her as my first mentor, right? Like she's brilliant that way.
That's funny. And like people get mad over like when someone at Chick-fil-A gets their order wrong.
Right.
But you were like living in your car, bro. Like I have no idea what that's like, and like prompts for getting out of that. What was the first step to really get out of that?
Awareness. I had to be aware of my situation, like really aware. Like if you don't take action, you don't have gas in your car now. Let alone food, right? Let alone, paying for a cell phone bill, let alone, insurance for that car, let alone, child support at this point, let alone eating, like all of these things. So it was either like I had to be aware of the real circumstance. I had to get real with myself for a second. And understand that I had two choices. Like I either do something about it or I don't do something about it, and I go sleep with the homeless people at the park.
Dude, that's crazy. I bet that was scary too.
Absolutely terrifying, yeah.
Yeah. So what was the first job? How did you get your first few bucks?
Yeah, so I'm an all or nothing kind of guy, okay? So this is exactly what I did. I was like, okay, Michael, I'm going to treat you like you're my client now.
Okay. So you wanted, at this point, you knew you wanted to be a coach / mentor.
Not necessarily.
Okay.
I just knew I needed to do something. And that was my square one. I needed to do something. And I was going to hire myself as my own coach here.
I like it.
And I said, okay, Michael, if you put yourself in this situation, okay, and like really just talk to me like I'm a client. And so I looked at it, I was like, okay, no money. You can't go out and buy, equipment or hire a mentor or any of these things. So what can you do? And I just went back to the basics. I can create content and I can get people seen online. Okay. I knew I could do those things. Mm-hmm. Those skill sets never went away. Having said that, the way I felt about myself would have prohibited me from reaching out to people, posting stuff on social, like showing up at events. So I told myself, I was like, Michael, it's either you step into these new shoes or you don't have shoes. Like, that's the reality. And so what I did was from my phone, actually, I started posting stuff on Facebook, relevant content like tips on how to be seen online pretty much.
Okay.
And I just wanted to show that that's where my direction was. That's what I'm doing. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm focused on. That's who I am. And so then I reached out to 10 very specific people I was connected to on Facebook. And I just told them, I was like, hey, this is new. This is what I'm doing. You know me as this young consultant dude. But now, almost a year later, I'm focused on helping entrepreneurs to be seen more online, work on their personal brand.
Okay.
In various ways. Here's my program. It's $1,000. What do you think? And of those 10 people, 5 of them said yes. And blew my mind again.
And just like that. So like
all or nothing, baby. Like,
was that within like
$5
a couple
grand?
Weeks,
Yeah. It took me a little while to really get the hang of what I could do. Okay. But literally in a period of like 72 hours, 3 days.
Dude, that's wild.
It's crazy.
From broke to
making 5 Gs. Yeah, I could eat. You better believe your boy ate. I probably
Where'd you go?
Myself. I probably went to the same McDonald's that I went to and got like 3 things on the dollar menu versus the one that I usually did. No, I don't remember. I made some smart decisions. I was like, don't blow this. Don't do your old pattern of just spending what you got. Okay, be smart.
And I think that's one thing that you did that was really smart is that you didn't pretend to be anything that you're not. You didn't say like, you didn't really have much things to post about as far as like, check out my flashy this or that.
No way.
But you didn't say anything that you were not.
Yeah.
Because you knew about marketing. You knew how to get an online presence, and that's what you talked about.
That's exactly it. That was my skill set, and that was true. I didn't lie to anybody. Nobody, it's not like anybody was asking like, yeah, so where you live now? I live, technically it's at 1300 East. And no, it wasn't like that. I didn't fake it till I made it, so to speak. I just rested on my laurels of what I could actually do.
Okay, rad. And so that is obviously a powerful story, and you tell it a lot, I imagine.
Sure.
Like, how many times a week do you think you tell it?
10.
Do you say it every time like you're talking to a new client?
Yeah.
Okay.
I've practiced this.
So, right.
But you're asking questions that I have not answered.
Okay,
so
good.
This is cool.
So, super clean, smooth. Yeah, you said it, a million times. But do you ever get tired of sharing that story?
You know what? No. And I'll tell you why. It's because I know that the people that listen to this are different than the people I did a podcast with earlier today and yesterday and the day before and the stage I spoke at last week. It's a different set of people, and I am on fire to help other people, whether they're coaches, entrepreneurs, speakers, or they have their 9 to 5, or they work at the grocery store, or they're 17 and about to go to college.
Yeah.
It's all the same to me, but I know that I was that person at some point. Like, I know that if somebody's still listening to this, then they're getting value from it. And I only wish somebody would have stepped in my life that had been through certain things and had come out on the other side for real. You know what I mean? Not like, oh, I was down to my last $8,000 and then I had to give up my Porsche. It was rough, you guys. Like, you don't even know. Like, that's okay. Somebody can relate to that. But the person that relates here, this is a very common thing. It's very usual, and for people to talk about is powerful.
And we got to be on point, man, because you never know who's listening and who it could affect.
Absolutely. Absolutely. This world changes by thoughts, and I'm just here to share mine.
So, have you ever listened or read the book Essentialism?
No.
Okay, so when we were booking this interview, you sent me your schedule.
Yeah.
And I loved how you broke it up as far as Monday and Friday are blacked out. And so you only have Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday to do business with Michael. You're a very important person.
Super important. Yeah. Top of the food chain.
Yes. And I think this is wise. I've heard a few people talk about scheduling and just being smart with your days, whether it's in the morning you do your creative work and then administrative things in the afternoon, or only certain days you do interviews or whatever. And I just thought that was really cool. Like, how was that just a personal preference? How has that worked tactically to make you more productive?
Yeah, I have a big heart, and so the one thing, like when I started using an online calendar system, I mean, it was all day, every day. You could book it until like 9 o'clock at night.
For real?
Yeah, absolutely.
Dang, dude.
Because I want to be flexible, and I know international, like if you're, in Australia, I can't be talking to you at 3 a.m. your time, you know what I mean? And so I try to keep it flexible, but here's the reality is that I would give a lot of time to people that I wasn't the right fit for. Like, I was never going to change. I was never, like, we would never work together, and I would still spend 2 hours on a call with them. And that starting off, I needed to do that probably to learn that I shouldn't do that. And so I got real with myself. I was like, man, after the weekend, like, it's brutal on Monday to, like, both try to catch up, right, and get ahead and take on new calls and do podcasts and run my mastermind and.
Yeah.
And so I'm like, okay, something's got to give here. And I'm like, I love my Mondays and I love my Fridays when I can just focus on the things I need to do. That's it. I just want to do that, and that's where it just came out of, like, essential. Like, it was like the plan. Like, I needed this. I had to be aware of that. And I take Mondays and Fridays for myself.
So you give a lot. Have you learned, how do you feel about saying no to people right now?
I'm okay with that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Always, or is that a new thing that you've gotten better at?
No, it's a skill for me. Like, I want to be a resource. Like, I've spoken at events I shouldn't have been at. Like, really. Like, I would say yes, and I'd show up, and I'm like, this was a bad idea. like I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't even know what value I can bring. Like, I would do that, but now it's like, okay, if I want to say yes to the big goals that I have, the things that I really want to achieve in my life, that takes time. And if I'm giving time to the areas and the avenues that don't serve my goal, then it's a no. And, the hardest part about that, to be honest with you, is the people closest to me in my life. Girlfriends, wife, like whoever that could be, like my close family. Like, I haven't gone home to Chicago to see my family because I had something that got me to my goal. And like it had to be black and white for me. And it's still something I'm studying and kind of like taking on, but it's so much simpler. It's like, okay, me going to that like tailgating party isn't as essential as me going to prepare for this talk I'm giving in LA next week.
Okay, that's cool, man. And what the book essentially says, my favorite line in it at least, is live your life by design and not by default.
Oh, I love that.
So essentially that's what you're doing. And it resonated with me because so many of us, me included, we just accept what we're given, and people make choices for us instead of wait. How do I want to live? And of course, it may take time to get there, but design it yourself. That just sounds so much better.
And it is. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah.
Like, I resonate with that really hard, and I'll tell you why. It's because when I first started my own, like being more of like a coach mentor, I felt like I was taking orders, okay? And the results weren't as great. I was taking orders, and I'm out of total respect, I was taking orders from the person that hired me because they didn't know what they were talking about. And I was taking orders from them. Like, I was going to do the thing that they told me, and they didn't know what they were talking about.
Yeah.
Like, you know how many great results I had at that point? Not many. And that's real, okay? And that hurt, and I was like, okay, I've got to design this thing and not just accept what comes to me. I get to take control of that because that's where I've seen results. If I know that I can get the result, I get to be the professional here and put something together. And that actually changed, and it shows up a lot in various ways, not just in business, in relationships. I get to take control of what I will accept, what I won't accept, what works, what doesn't work.
Dude, that's really important.
It's crazy in every relationship. So, I mean, setting those boundaries, like if there's an area of expertise that I bring in whatever, like I can own that. And like you said, you got to be sharp and ready and prepared. And so like, you know, something pops up. I'm like, yeah, no, I see where you're coming from, but here's a little background. Here's where I come from. Here's the expertise I have. I think we should do it this way. And here's why, right? Like, that's like, oh, okay, got it. And we can move forward. It's kind of cool. But like, yeah, living by design, not default. Like, you don't have to accept what comes to you. You can take full control of that and design away. Like, I don't want to work on Mondays and Fridays. I want a 4-day weekend every weekend. Right? I want to sleep in, like, I'm still wearing my workout pants from this morning, and it's a Monday.
Me too, actually.
Like, well, you know, now everyone knows. But what day is it? It's Monday.
Yeah.
This is my day, and this is how I'm showing up. This is how you're showing up. We're chill. We're doing our cool thing. But we get to design what that looks like. Period.
Yeah, dude, I'm all about that, and I love it. What's your advice for someone? Man, dude, we could talk forever, but what's your advice for someone who's feeling depressed? And we know that there are record highs for depression, and I think we talk about it a lot. At least I see it talked about a lot because I follow people, you know. So I know there's probably some people who don't talk about it a lot. But within the self-development community, I know it's talked about. And I think we've lost, unfortunately, we've lost the urgency of it or the importance of it, because it's talked about so much that people, that just, even me, like, it's just one ear out the other sometimes, which is unfortunate. But what's your advice for someone who's really feeling that, like they're alone or depressed? What's just one small step to feel a little bit better?
Dang. No pressure. No pressure.
You know, you're just basically Jesus right now.
Okay, excellent. Here I go. I have to grow out some hair, though, apparently. I would say this, gratitude. Being grateful for what you do have. You know, a lot of times people talk about gratitude, and it's like this woo-woo kind of feel. Another buzzword. Yeah. And if I can break that even farther down, so many people have no idea what they're talking about, and they use this terminology. So I want to back this up, right, by example and by result, so that you know that this isn't just another thing you can not listen to, okay? Gratitude. So when you're in a state of depression, your mind, in your body, you're in a downward spiral, okay? As quickly or as slowly as that is, it's going down. Your thoughts going to the negative. Your actions not as productive. Okay, we have the evidence in our life that we're in a depression, whether we know it or not. Okay, but when we start being grateful, gratitude is one of those things where we start to see things in a different way, right? So I was grateful that I had a car. I was grateful I had the ability to be ashamed sitting in a hot tub with a multimillionaire where we're talking about life and business. Like, I was just grateful. I was smiling, and I was just like, you know what? This sucks. You know, like, I had to take ownership of that and just be grateful for what I did have. You know, when I found change under, like, my car seat and I could go to the dollar menu that day. Like,
that's a real story?
That's a real story.
Dude.
You know?
You're
like,
the hustler, man.
You got it. Like, it's either you do it or you don't do it. You know what I mean? And I honestly believe if you can just find that one thing to be grateful for at any time in your life, it starts to change the actual chemistry in your brain. You stop seeing everything as a negative. You stop always hating everything. You stop, like, hating yourself. You stop all of the negative, like, starts to stop the momentum going down. It takes time, and then you can start seeing it come back. And that gratitude that you can have just for being able to breathe. You know, if you have two hands, you're pretty well off.
Dude, I love that. Like, breaking it down to even those things of, even if you have one leg, like, people that I like, those motivational speakers that I've seen, like, who have no legs.
Yeah. Nick Santonastasso.
Yes, that's who it is.
Right.
That's who I'm thinking of. He is happier than anyone I've seen. And, like, yeah.
Can I also say this?
Yeah, say whatever you want.
Okay.
Dude.
This is going to be crazy, and this is going to be a paradigm shift for a lot of people, but I love being in a tight spot.
Me too, actually.
I thrive there.
Yeah.
Because guess what? Who else could endure this?
Mm-hmm.
Who else could be, experiencing homelessness, still trying to take care of their daughter and their like life and starting business? Like, who else could absorb that much pressure and allow it to mold you into something stronger? Like you can. Like if you're listening to this right now and you've experienced this, you're listening to this podcast. You have the technological method of that happening. You have a phone in your hand. You have a laptop in front of you. You're blessed.
Yes.
Okay? It's like the arrow being pulled back. You got to be dragged back before something crazy happens, right? Before you go sailing through the air. And this right here, it makes you who you are. Like I couldn't be as effective on stage or on podcasts or in person or in my own business if I didn't experience those things.
Yeah.
Because I wouldn't have a clue as to what I'm talking about. But just know that this is part of the story. Just fast forward 3 years. Like in 3 years, like I was homeless, okay? Let's back it up. 4 years ago now, 4 years ago, 5, something like that, going through a divorce, depression, slip and sliding down into the barrels of depression, okay? And then understanding that I hit my rock bottom. I was at the very bottom of my everything, where I was so neutral I could have taken I could have been here or not. Like suicide at that point, I'm using the S word, like I didn't care about it. It was either I lived or I didn't, and I didn't care, okay? And in that point, you have to prepare yourself. Like I mentally, emotionally was connected to my daughter. Okay. Like I didn't stay because of myself. I had no control over that. I was not in a position to like make that decision, but I was here to show my daughter what's possible. As simple as that is. Like it doesn't have to be for yourself. It doesn't have to be under your own power. And too many things in my life, honestly, have happened where I realized that there's more to this life than just my decisions, just who I am and how I show up in this world. I know that there's a bigger plan, a bigger picture for me. Okay, I had to rest on all these things, but I couldn't be effective in any other way if I hadn't been here. I couldn't speak about what it took to barely make ends meet or like barely buy food from a dollar menu and like jump on Skype calls at my local Starbucks because they had a Wi-Fi and I luckily still had a phone, right? I didn't have cell service, but I could get on their Wi-Fi. Like I have to be real about all those things so that people really know I've been there. It's not just a story. It's not just a thing that we like to hear and it's inspiring and motivating, but like wrap this back around to your own life. Like how long have you been at that job that you're neutral about, that you actually hate? How long have you been married to somebody that doesn't serve you, that is abusive, that is, all of these things? How long can you do that before you recognize that like you don't have much longer on this planet, right? Like, do you want to keep going down there? Do you want to be neutral about your life? Or do you want to try to do that one thing that you've always wanted to do and you've told yourself story after story about how you can't do it? Okay, like it can be done. We're sitting here talking about the fact that it has been done. If I can do it, being a regular dude, like whoever's listening to this can do it. Promise. Dude,
I love it. That was powerful. I would drop the mic, but it would ruin the audio.
It would break this. Yeah, break the mic. Break it.
Okay, anyway, so we've come to the segment of the show where I call Scroll My Soul.
Scroll
my soul.
My soul. Okay.
Okay, and the reason why I call it that is because when I learn through conversation, books, whatever have you, I write stuff down on my phone. I'm sure you do the same, of things that I learned. So I randomly scroll through that note and I just flick through it.
Nice.
And then I stop somewhere and I say a thought for you and I ask how it resonates with you. Is that cool?
Yeah, let's do that.
All right, dude, you've kind of already touched on this a little bit, so it's kind of perfect. So this is what I wrote the other day. I can't help everyone. I need to be okay with that. Even though I want to impact as many people as possible, only the people who really care will make a change.
Deep. So you want to know my thoughts?
Yes.
Okay. Something that really keeps me going when you talk about impacting people is knowing that I can only reach X people today. Like there's a finite reach on that. Yes, the internet, yes, all of the possibilities, but the reality is I'm only going to reach so many people. But here's what keeps me motivated in moving forward is knowing that I can always increase that. I can always do something better or different to reach more of my people, like the people I'm supposed to. And so knowing that I'm not going to reach, 7+ billion people on this planet, probably closer to 8 billion people, like I am okay with that. But here's where it gets deeper. I know that if, of the million or so people that I can reach in a year, if 8% of them are changed, fundamentally, if they think a little bit 1 degree differently, that 1 degree over the rest of their life, they are in a different country. Okay. And that is really powerful. I know that if I'm impacting someone, they're impacting someone else, and that there's no end to that.
And that it goes back to gratitude even, right? Because I get frustrated. I said, like, my pet peeve is when people don't like take action, but that's not on me. Like, of course, like I want to help and I want to inspire and impact. And so, but I have to trust that hopefully they're on their own journey and I will do everything I can, but I can only do so much, and I'm still learning that, and I know that will always be a test for me.
Absolutely. Like, gosh, so important. And here's the cool thing. Like, we talked about a journey here, and knowing that journey and what it feels like every step of the way, I believe that we get to better impact people. So when I come across people and they tell me their same BS story that I've been telling, and I'm like, okay, you're 2 years into this. Yeah. Got it. Like, I understand where they're at, and I can have empathy. I can understand exactly where they're at and what they need. And that's really, I think, that's where I'm coming from. I know that, everyone's got their own thing. Sometimes I can identify and sometimes I can't. And I have to be okay with, like, the fact that I can't with everyone. Yeah.
Okay. All right, dude. Before we wrap up, do you have any last advice or tips for everyone?
Yeah, just move. That would be it. Like, you already know that you want to do that one thing. Like, there's that action you've been wanting to take.
Like, you know what it is.
Oh,
like,
they know.
It's in your heart or somewhere in your mind.
It's the first thing you thought of when I said that.
Yes.
That thing, please do yourself a favor. Put all of your worries, put all of your stories about what that is going to look like, put it all aside and, like, actually do it. Like, this week. I'm going to challenge, I'm going to dare you to do it.
Ooh.
And you'll be so freaking glad that you did. I guarantee. Now, having said that, don't harm anyone. Don't harm yourself.
Yes.
Okay? That's a little disclaimer, a little asterisk. Okay? But do that thing. The thing that lights you up that you haven't done in a long time, like, whatever it is, ask that girl out, okay? Like, do that, have that hard conversation with a family member. Like, do it. It's going to lighten you up. And the lighter you can get, the faster you can go, the farther you get.
Dude, I love that. That's going to be our challenge for this week. Okay. I love that, man. Dude, this has been awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for having me in your home, or the guest house at least. But I feel privileged.
Absolutely.
So, for real, man, thanks for taking the Monday night, and adios. Thank you all for tuning in this week. Thank you for tuning in for another episode. For real, if you're listening right now, I love you. And I really appreciate that you're listening. I truly think that you can get value from this, and I hope you're applying it. And if you haven't done a challenge yet, do this one, because this week's challenge is inspired by Michael, and he would take offense if you didn't do it. So it's inspired by him and the 5-figure Workweek. And your challenge is to write down your 5 favorite problems. So how I did this, you can see it when I launch my content, when I watch my video, is I did it Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and I wrote one thing down. You can do it whatever way you want. You can do it in one day, whatever. I wrote my 5 favorite problems. They can be small things or big things. And why I do this is because I wanted to reframe my problems. Like, what is good about the problem? Is it even a problem? And are my problems smaller things and I shouldn't complain about them? Like, one of my problems is find another barber. And it's reframing our mindset to be like, okay, I've been thinking and complaining and worried about this thing, but dude, it's not even a problem. Like, finding a barber, I will take that problem every day, even though I really do think it's a problem because I really love my old barber where I moved from. But You get the point. Reframe it to list your 5 favorite problems and realize they're not as bad as you think you are, or they're not as bad as you think they are. And hopefully, if they're small, we can get bigger problems. Because problems are just problems, man. If you're struggling for money just to survive, it sucks. And if you're struggling to get money for a business, but you're well off, or you're struggling to raise money and you're already successful financially, it's still a struggle. Do you get that? That like it all feels like a problem, so you need to problem solve. And let's reframe our five favorite problems. And there are a few ways you can report back once you complete the challenge. You can post on Facebook or Instagram using hashtag Goalink Challenge, tag us in your stories, or use the Goalink hotline. So the point of the hotline is to do this privately if you don't want to post a story and still have an accountability portion. To use the hotline, call 385-626-0525 and follow the instructions. Follow us at Goalink Group, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube. My name is Ben. I love you, and this is The Goalink Show.